Right, so I've got these pipes back now. I've gone a little bit different to what I originally said, so I've gone with the same idea of cutting the ends off, but instead of using the braided steel, I've just used some rubber hydraulic hose. It was my father-in-law that's done this for me. He is an engineer, he works with hydraulics, very knowledgeable man, so he's assured me that this is more than adequate, even with the pressures of the oil pressure in the crankcase. So I trust your judgment, and I'm sure this will be a good fix. Of course, if it doesn't, then again, like I said previously, it's just a case of buying the expensive pipes. But so I'll show you now. Just here, this is these are of course the old pipes that I've taken off. Of course, the ends have been snipped, but where it had failed, maybe you can see small hole. But it's just in that section. You can see if I do it like that, there's a good old groove taken out of it. Of course, it's sat under this sleeve. This sleeve does move up and down for the mount. So it was under there. It was eating away at it over the years and caused a hole. So it's broken the end. This one is on its way out. The reason I've done both of them is because although this wasn't leaking, this hose, that is very corroded under there, and there's points of it that are looking pretty rough. So anyway, old hoses aside, this is what I've done. As you can see, this is the idea. Now, I'm sure somewhere out there's going to be some top Honda enthusiast that's going to be, oh, you can't do it this way, oh, that's absolutely diabolical. But this is more than adequate way of doing it. Of course, if it fails, then you know it's worth a try, but I'm sure this will be absolutely perfect. So as you can see, they've been cut from about here on both sides, and so we've saved some of the pipe, you know, just so we can get some of the natural flexes. Of course, you've got the hose here for the flexes, but some of the natural bends as you want to keep. So in case, yeah, all I've done is cut it off and just used some good hose clamps, not cheap, nasty hose clamps. These are proper, real deal ones. This is the hose. It's good for what, 10 mil hose, good for 20 bar, and it is proper fuel and oil hose here, so it's not, make sure if you're using this, it is the proper stuff, fuel and oil hose, 10 mil, which you see there, good for 20 bar. So the hose is more than adequate. I suppose the only worry is these slipping off, but what I'm going to do is just sort of mark on the edge of the hose there and on the pipe, just to see if it does start creeping away with pressure, which I'm sure it won't, because these are mega tight. Yeah, so that's it. So when doing it, when you're cutting the pipes, I've just marked there, as you can see, that black marker, and on this one just got 2 dots. That's just to keep each end together, because of the shape on them, as you can see with these ones. If you can notice, sort of there, the hole for the bolt facing up, this one there, as you can see on camera, facing to the right. So you don't want to get them muddled up. Of course, if you do, it's easy enough to just pop them off and change them around, because it is on a hose. And if over the years this does corrode and get brittle and start cracking, get yourself some more hose. I've got a spare piece there. Just cut it to shape, cut it to measurement, and away you are. So this is the sort of experimental fix, let's say. Whether it works, you know, I'm sure it will, and hopefully it does, because anyone out there, rather than spending hundreds of pounds on these pipes, this is a brilliant fix, a cheap fix. It didn't cost me anything. Like I say, my father-in-law, he done it for a favour, you know, he sorted me out. But you know, a bit of pipe like that, something to cut the pipes up, and some clips, you know, 10 quid if that. So yeah, so I'm going to get these on. I'm not going to tighten them up yet. Of course, I'm going to pop them out, tighten these up, and when it comes to fitting them, get these ends in first. So these are the ends at the bottom of the crankcase. Get them in first, and then when you're lining these up, when they're loose, or obviously not on at the moment, you can sort of twist them around and make them fit. And then from there, just a case of run the bike up a little bit, get it to temperature, leave it sit, leave it idle, keep a close eye on there, watch for any dripping, watch for any leaks at all. If there's nothing and it's fine, take it out for a ride, you know, just stopping every couple of miles just to keep an eye on it and see where we're at. And yeah, if it holds, it holds, and job's a good one. So I'll leave it there. I'm going to faff on with these much more, but next video I'll be putting them back on, so I'll be installing them back onto the bike as part of an oil change as well, because I've got some new oil, a nice new filter, so we'll be doing it as a one. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to share what I've actually done with it so far, and see what happens. But fingers crossed, because certainly saved me a few pennies anyway. But yeah, so we'll cut away. We'll get to that shortly or tomorrow, and see if it works. Fingers crossed. So the moment has come to get these pipes back on. Did show you them, obviously we've just seen them, what I've actually done to them. So we'll get them on there, we'll change the filter, we'll check that some plug's tight at the bottom, because I don't think I tightened it up properly, and we'll get some fresh oil in, and then fire it up and hope for the best. But yeah, so we'll get cracking with that. First thing I'm going to do is just check the O-rings, previous O-rings. God, sorry, I have to wear sunglasses. I can't do bright light at all. We are. So we've got the four O-rings. Now these, oh goodness me, can't even see them. Focus there we go. You can reuse these O-rings. I'm just checking them there. That one looks a bit, as long as they're soft, there's no cracks in them, anything like that, they can be reused. These ones are all right, to be fair. They're not cracked, they're not brittle. Oh, my head, watch your head, don't bang your head on garage doors because it hurts. And they're not misshaped, anything like that. It's worth, you know, they are cheap, but it's just a pain in the ass finding the right sizes. And knowing Honda, they'll probably charge you about £60 per O-ring because they're just mad. But yeah, we'll reuse them this time because they are quite fine. So we'll get those on, get the pipes in place, and get cracking. So of course, firstly, we want to make sure we've got the right. Flip it round. Here we go. I can't remember. What on earth is that? You cats around here. Sick of them. Anyway, so yeah, just because you can see on the direction. So I see one eye holes facing upwards, one there facing to the left. And this one, as you can see, oh, that's the hole for it. This one's the one that's facing. So this one is for this side, and that one is for that side. So we'll just pop those in place, and so we know. And then we're going to route that down, basically from the way we took it out. Just going to go route down there above this this radiator hose here, straight down and then on. Once it's routed in place, we'll get it all tightened up. Okay, so I've popped that in place there, like I said, mentioned it there, going over the coolant hose, running down, removing this bracket and that bolt, and then that's clear. So what we want to do, we can even see that. God, it's too bright out here. Oh, there it is up there. So we just want to make sure that that's clean, because it is still dripping oil, a lot of dripping oil there. Make sure it's clean. There's just a bit of dirt in there, so I'm just going to wipe it down, make sure it's clean. Of course, don't forget the O-rings. Make sure you've got two types of different ones. Where are they now? So you've got the big one there and the little one. The big one is at the bottom here on the actual crankcase itself, and then the smaller O-ring is the one that's going to go on the actual oil cooler at the top there. So before you put them on, make sure they're nice and clean, and get them all. Ooh, a bit sandy, I've just dropped them, not good. We'll get them cleaned up. So yeah, I'm just going to clean that now and get those in place. Okay, so that bottom one is now in place, in there, nice and secure, tightened up. The clam's back in place and the hoses are there. Just make sure they're not kinked up or anything like that. That's in place. Of course, one thing to note if you're going to do it this way, because these got quite sharp edges, you don't want them to be sort of touching or rubbing on the coolant hoses, because over time they will corrode. So what I might have to do is loosen that off and just spin the clip around. Same with this one. You want to make just make sure it's not touching anything, but we'll put them in place and we'll get to that bit, because you might need to swivel that whole joint around, because by the looks of it, if I'm turning that up, it's facing the wrong way already, so we'll have to loosen it off and spin it round, make sure it lines up, but we'll do that now. Right, so that's one on and in place. Fitting at the top there nicely. It didn't really need to twist that too much. It was quite lined up, to be honest. All nice and straight. It's not too tight. Sitting in the original hose bracket there and down, and again that one's not actually interfering with any pipes, so I'm quite happy with that. And then it's down there, so I'll double check the tightness at the end when we're all done. But I'll put the other side on as well now. Again, simple, same process on the other side. Just make sure you've got that a little bit of slack. You don't want anything too tight. And yeah, all nicely and easily accessible there. If you do ever need to change them, you can just pop them off and replace the hose. Yeah, nice. So far so good. Okay, so that's both the hoses on. This was considerably easy to do, easy to get to. Noting that aim downwards there, running across nicely. Oh, where are we? Using the original bracket there. It's not near the exhaust, not touching anything. Running up here, and then nicely onto there, and then the two. So they're now on, nice and tight. Tightened up all the clamps. Everything's nice and solid now. So yeah, just a case of swapping out the oil filter. Simple task. Sits there, just above the headers. There we are. Looks quite new and clean, to be fair, but I'm going to replace it anyway, because I'm changing the oil. There's a replacement filter. Got a little filter clamp. Not exactly the best one in the world, but it works. So we'll get that off now. Put the new one on. And then top up the oil. Right, old one off, new one on. Make sure it's the same one or similar. These are exactly the same one, both 204s. This is actually quite a clean filter, but I'm changing the oil. There was 1030 in this bike. The manual says 1040, so I'm sticking 1040 in it. I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the later VFR sort of post 2006 that used 1030, I believe, but the older ones are 1040. So I'm just going to stick with that, and hopefully that is correct. Fucking cats around here, scrapping again. Mental place. Anyway, let's get back to it, no distractions. Cool, yeah, see, once you've cleaned up your oily mess, you know what? Never do a job when you're in the middle of moving house. What a nightmare. All my tools are at the back there. I don't even know how I'm going to get the fairings. Using bloody toilet roll to clean up oil. This is a nightmare. But it's working. No issue so far. New oil filter is on. Hand tight. So that is good stuff so far. So I've double checked the sump plug there, that's nice and tight. The oil filter's on, all the oil lines are now up, tight and connected. So what I'm going to do is wheel the bike out a little bit. I'm going to put the oil in now. What we're going to do, just top it up a bolt. I'm going to top it to the upper level. I've not filled up the oil filter because of the angle it's on. It's just going to tip out, so there's no point in doing that. So I'm going to fill it to the upper level, and then I'm going to run it, and hopefully there's no leaks. And this is where we'll see. This is where we find out. So, yep, let's see how this goes. Right, so I've filled it up there now. It's just below the upper level. I'm going to put a drop more in a minute because it has settled slightly. One thing to note, it's worth doing, especially if it's sort of sprayed oil like it has on mine down the sides. Give it a good clean up around the joints, because if there are any leaks, it'll be a lot more difficult to find them. So like I say, it's sort of a bit wet down the edges here, so I'm going to give it a good wipe down before firing it up. At least then if it leaks, like I say, it'll be a lot easier to identify anything. And then fingers crossed. God, I'm nervous. God, imagine this works, it'll be buzzing. I feel like the biggest bodge job in the world. Got no bloody tools, fitting pipes. Oh well, if it works, it works. Right, it's all done. New battery in. What a pain that was to get in. Brand new battery, the connection's a little bit wrong, so I'll have to fiddle around with that in a minute, make sure it fits properly. But yeah, oil's in, so it's ready to fire up. So I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to have a good look around the bike first before I grab the camera, just in case anything catastrophic happens. But fingers crossed. Right, well, so far so good. There's no leaks. I've checked all the joints. Have a little look, show you. So, checking all the joints there. There's nothing from the main ones on either side. Underneath it from the flex that I made there, no joints, no nothing leaking out. It's been idling now for a few minutes. Still nothing under there. Yeah. The only thing I will mention as well is a point to note before anyone does it. On this section here, because this pipe is quite close to the exhaust, you can see it there. I've sort of pulled this away a little bit just to give it that extra space. It's not touching, it won't touch, even if it flexes, it's not going to. But yeah, so far so good. There's no leaks under there. That's holding quite nicely. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let it get to temperature. We're on 49, yeah, so it's getting there. Let it get its temperature a bit, and then I'm going to top the oil, of course, make sure it's level, and then I'm going to take it for a little ride. Nothing too much, just to get the temperature going. I mean, the oil pressure will build up almost instantly, so I like to think now if it's going to leak, it would leak straight away. Of course, I am going to mark where the pipe meets the where I've sort of the joint, the hose goes onto the original pipe, just so I can see any evidence of moving, and a little bit of Tipex, something like that, just to mark it up. But no, so far so good. So take it for a little bit, let it idle, do the oil, take it for a little spin, and we'll come back. And if there's any problems, you know, I'll surely admit defeat. But so far it's very successful, so I'm very happy with it. So yeah, let's see what happens. Alright, so I think we can deem that a success so far. I try to stay optimistic, it's absolutely fine. Took it for a spin, about 5-ish miles, not for a bit. Went into the VTec range, punched it a little bit, and it was absolutely fine, there's no issues. And the oil level, it's been sat for a few minutes, yeah, the oil level's bowie. So, settling now, oil level fine. There's the joints, there's no leaks whatsoever. You can see the little Tipex marks I've made. So I've done that on all 4 sections, just for future reference to see if there's any movement. If they split apart, I know that they're moving, but they're completely bone dry. There's no movement. All the joints are fine. There's warmth in the pipe, you can feel it. I'm guessing coming out because that one's considerably warmer than this one. About the same really. But yeah, the hoses are warm, so there is some flow. The joints, there's a Tipex on that one as well. Completely bone dry. So, I mean, I'm quite happy with it. That's going to leak at all. I think that's going to hold very well. And in fact, the way I look at it, Hondas, I mean, some Hondas, yeah, considerably over-engineered, let's say. I don't know. Maybe people will hate that term for a Honda. But, I mean, that's a good thing, don't get me wrong. But sometimes a little bit of simplicity can go a long way. And you know, I know there's going to be people out there that's like, oh, you can't do that, it's a Honda, da-da-da. But it works. It does the job. It's only a simple system, the oil cooler there, and if it does burst, I know it's not as strong as the original. It'd be more prone to damage, but it's a 20 bar bit of hose for oil, for high pressure oil and what have you. So it's more than that hose itself is more than capable of the job. The clamp's more than capable of the job. So I'm going to deem that a success. But you know, and especially Honda owners out there of the specifically VFR800 VTEC, you know, let me know what you think. You know, if you think it's a terrible idea and it's going to fail due to a certain reason, you know, let me know. Like I say, I'm here to learn, and I'm here to advise, and you know, that's come from some no less hydraulic engineers sort of pointed me in that direction, and they assure me it won't leak and they assure me it'll be fine. So yeah, I'm certainly going to listen to them. But hello, there we go, job is done. I will put the fairings back on at some point. I'm not doing it now, I cannot be bothered, but all is well. So thank you for watching. If this has helped somebody, you know, then great. And also yeah, all done. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.